I'm doing well.
It's wonderful to have you on the line because I think the NIA is in high demand nowadays. Everybody needs your ID card to do a lot of things. First of all, what you're doing, we all call it a registration for Ghana card. But exactly what is the NIA doing?
Yes, so whatever NIA is doing reflects NIA's mandate, right, which is Act 707. As far as that mandate is concerned, we need to build a national identity register that has all Ghanaians from age 0 to infinity, but also foreign nationals who are legally resident in Ghana. And once they are captured on the National Identification Register, we then have to issue them with identity cards. So they carry these cards along wherever there's the need to prove one's identity. They are able to show that. So basically, that is NIA's mandate, and NIA will also have to be able to integrate that data with some other state institutions so that going forward, when those institutions have to identify individuals who come to them to seek service, it also becomes easier. So you're talking about Sena, you're talking about the DVLA, talking about the NHIS, so on and so forth. And then for what we call the mandatory uses of the Ghana card. So talk about SIM card re-registration, for instance. You cannot do so without a Ghana card. You're talking about purchase of a land. It has to be through a Ghana card. You're talking about opening of a bank account. You're talking about pensions. So there are 14 mandatory uses of the Ghana card that you cannot transact as far as any of those services is concerned without showing a Ghana card or an identity card that is issued by the National Identification Authority. So that's what NIA is about. So the provision of identity management services in order to facilitate economic, social, and political development of our country.
I realize you said from age 0 to infinity, you are supposed to build a national identity register that captures every Ghanaian from 0 to infinity. And then you also capture foreigners within Ghana who are residents in that identity register. As we speak now, you haven't gotten to the point of 0 to infinity yet, have you?
Yes, so basically we have to stagger the registration process, which have to reflect our technical and operational realities. So to build such a database from scratch, and if you were going to say, okay, we are even registering children from age 0, that could easily have overwhelmed the technical and operational process. So what we have done is to introduce a first registration phase that captures Ghanaians who are aged 15 years and above. When we are done with that, we will then go to the registration of Ghanaians from age 0 to 14. So as we speak, the registration is for Ghanaians who are 15 years and above. We've captured close to 90% of that population, and we are currently preparing to start the registration of Ghanaians below the age of 15. So that is where we are. So as far as the registration of foreigners is concerned, that has been going on since 2014. And as we speak, we are somewhere around 1.3, 1.4 million of legally resident foreign nationals who have been captured on the National Identity Register. So very soon, we are going to start the registration of Ghanaians below the age of 15. We should get that done to an extent before the end of this year.
You said you've done 90% of persons 15 and above. Did I hear right?
Exactly.
Because I'm wondering what the statistics is telling you. We are talking about over 30 million Ghanaians. And I'm sure you're working with some statistics and targets. You have a clear understanding of exactly or estimation of how many Ghanaians are 15 and above. So what is the target and what does 90% represent?
Yeah, so if you look at the population and housing census 2020, Ghanaians who are 15 years and above are around 19.9 million. Is that okay? 19.9 million Ghanaians are aged 15 years and above per the 2020 population and housing census. Yes, and if that is anything to go by, as of 5th August, just last week Friday, NIA had captured 17,148,669 Ghanaians. 17,148,669 Ghanaians. And of course, this number would have changed even yesterday, but this is as of last week, Friday. So if you do the mathematics, 17 million plus out of 19 million, you are surely around somewhere around 90%. So that is where we are in terms of the total enrollment. But we have also printed 16,569,715 cards. 16,569,715 cards. And we have issued, cards currently in the hands of Ghanaians. We have 15,772,612. 15,772,612. So that is the amount of progress we have made over this period. So it is true that we've done beyond 90% of the adult population, but I've made the argument over and over that we do not expect that at a particular time all Ghanaians have been registered and all Ghanaians have been issued their identity cards. That is not how the system was functioned. And I have to say this, that so as long as the population keep growing, there will always be a point where our registration figure lags behind the total population, because day in, day out, we keep adding to the population. I know that there are deaths as well, but if you do the net effect is that we actually add on. It's because there are more people being born than more people dying. So that's basically what it is. So as long as the registration facility is made available for all Ghanaians to register, anyone who is minded and wants to register for the Ghana card should be able to do so. And if people do not respond to those measures in quick time, for instance, you do not expect that at a certain time T we have captured all Ghanaians. That's not realistic.
Okay, so you've given us some figures to work with, but it also tells me that as we speak, you're still registering. So right now, if someone wants to register for to be on the National Identity Register, which areas can they register?
Yeah, so we have 292 offices across Ghana, 275 operational district offices, and 16 regional offices. So for us, every constituency in Ghana, NIA has an office there. And that is why we keep talking about operational district offices. So our offices are actually more than the political and administrative district officers we have in Ghana. So that tells you that we are very much closer to the people. So anyone who has not yet registered for the Ghana card has the opportunity to do so. And you can also register even at any of our 16 regional offices. So if you put all that together, we're talking about 292. But we
Abdul,
also have,
are you saying that in every constituency I can find an NIA office?
exactly the point. Every constituency in Ghana, NIA has an office there. And that tells you that we are one of those very few state institutions that has come very, very close to the people. That is what it is. And I keep making that point. All these other state institutions, especially when they begin, they do not cover the entire need.
Hello, Abdul.
And in November last year, so from November last year up to this point, NIA has successfully opened 292 offices across Ghana, 275 operational district offices, and 16 regional offices. So we are very much closer to the people. But people still complain, oh, our offices are far away from them, so on and so forth. But that is the effort we have made, just so that we come very, very, very close to the people. So anyone who has not yet registered has the opportunity to do so in your own constituency. And when we have printed your card, you make the effort to go back to the district office for that card to be issued to you. And just this week, in fact, yesterday, there used to be a problem of Ghanaians traveling from all over the country to the Elwak Sports Stadium to get their lost cards replaced. As of yesterday, we have started the replacement of cards at all our district offices. Update of personal records will be taking place at our regional offices. So that's how much we have decentralized these services so that anywhere you are in Ghana, you'll be able to access identity management services through the National Identification Authority.
But Abdul, if I want to update my personal records and I have to go to a regional office, isn't that too much of a hassle?
Yes, but that used to be you traveling to Accra, even if you lived
but
in
that still is not a justification for you to ask me to travel all the way, let's say from Sogakope to Ho, when you already have an office in Sogakope. That should be that I could have easily gone and corrected my or get corrections made or updated my personal records.
Okay, so the question should be, why is it that you'll be able to get service when it comes to replacing a lost card now at the district offices, that you would have to get service when it comes to updating your record at the regional office? Why is it so? So perhaps that's where we should pick the conversation from.
Okay, so that explanation will be helpful. Why?
Exactly, yes. And it is simply that we are piloting the updating service. Updating of personal records is a bit more complex than just replacing a lost card. And these officers are new. The officers manning them are new as well, who have been trained to go and deliver the service. And for a national identification system anywhere in the world, you are going to be guided by three very important principles. One, you need to ensure the accuracy of the database. You have to ensure its reliability, and you have to ensure its credibility. So we are only just piloting the updating service at the regional offices. From September, we would decentralize that to all our district offices in Ghana. So that's just to ensure that mistakes do not occur, to ensure that people do not abuse the system, and at the end of the day, we continue to uphold these three key principles that I have mentioned. I mean, I'll give you an example. People just go get an affidavit, get a gazette, and then come to the NIA asking we should change or add a record such as your date of birth. I mean, if it was not a mere case of correction, let's say a mistake was made in giving a particular date of birth, and you have a record that goes way back, even to your basic school, for instance, which then would prove that NIA made a mistake and NIA then has to correct it. Under no circumstance can you say at the time of registering you were born in 1982 and all of a sudden you show up and say you are born in 1987. And these are the things that people keep doing, what we call football age. We want to put a stop to this. You must be born just once, So when you push it so far to the district officers, there's a tendency for this kind of system to be abused. And that would have meant that the whole purpose of keeping a national identity register will be defeated. So these are some of the measures we have adopted. We started the updating service in Accra. Accra was the only place that updating could be done. We are now satisfied that we can move it to the regional offices with the systems that we have put in place. And we will pilot it for a while. When we are satisfied that those same systems would work at the district level, then we would decentralize it to the district level. So that is the main reason behind that. But for the replacement of lost cards, we've piloted it for a while at the regional offices, and we are now ready to move it to the district offices. So that is why it is so. Gradually, we will get there, where anywhere at all you are, you just wake up and go to our district office, and then you have the full set of identity management services being offered you. So that's where we are.
Well, if you're listening to me, I'm having a conversation with Abdul Ganiu Abudu, who is the PRO of the National Identification Authority.
The main thing is Head of Corporate Affairs.
Head of Corporate Affairs.
Yes,
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I've noted that. I also wanted to find out from you, if, for example, my name, Sena Nombo, somebody registers me, issues me an ID card, I realize the person has written, maybe put my N and replace, maybe it sounds like Nena Sombo when my name is Sena Nombo, and I try to get that rectified. Do you consider that also an update of personal records?
Yeah, so that's a correction of a record. Okay, so we will call that correction. So updating has to do with changes and corrections. So you are who you are in terms of the record you gave us at the point of registration. But certain things have changed about you over time, and you want to change any of those records that have changed over time. That is still updating. And then if at the point of registering, you gave a particular record or a particular information, but mistakenly something was misspelled or a different thing was put which does not belong to you, then that becomes a correction when you come back to the NIA. So both changes and corrections are all encapsulated in what we call updating of personal information or updating of personal records. So that's what it is. So in this case, the name you gave was correct, but a mistake was made in writing or typing the name. So certain letters got missing, or there were some, errors here and there. That one, you can simply come to the NIA with a document, the breeder document that you use to do the registration. So we will check in our system just to prove that, yes, that was the document you brought, and the information or the data on that document provides this and provides that. So we will simply make a correction for you. But where we have made a correction that requires us to print a new card for you, that new card, when printed, you pay an amount of 30 Ghana. So
but the mistake was not the fault of the person who needed the correction, because I came to you with a record, maybe clear details, official document with my name clearly spelled on it. Your officer makes a mistake. I come back and say, this is not my name. You got it wrong. Then I get to pay for it. Why?
Yeah, so it can only be sharing of responsibility, because when the process ended, a sheet of paper was printed for you to just go through and then confirm that everything on it is right, is correct. Then you give a signal for your card to be printed. So you needed to do that. So if you don't do that, and the card is printed and it comes with that mistake, sorry, the law says when we have printed a new card for you, we have to apply the requisite fee. And that fee is 30 cedis for now, based on what we took to Parliament and then got approval from Parliament. So for any other person who is yet to register, when you go to the district office, even before a card is printed, you are given a sheet of paper. So please go through it and be sure that the information captured is correct, is accurate, and then you can ask our officials to print the card. So if you don't do that, yes, I would admit that our officials may have also made a mistake, that you equally must take some responsibility for not going.
But Abdul, not everybody is lettered. Not everybody has gone to school. Not everybody is able to read and spell their names. Perhaps that is why they carried an official document of with their name on it and gave to you, because they know that media, if you give me this thing, self, I can't read. I don't know how this thing is spelled. So I give you something, look on it, put my name there. If you give it back to me to check, maybe the person is unable to check and help you.
Yes, there are two things here. So one, the training of our officials and our insistence that they should always make sure that they do what is right. They must have the presence of mind, the concentration in order to avoid mistakes. But they are also human beings. We worked with over 70,000 contract staff on the mass registration project, for instance. I mean, there was absolutely no way you would say that no one among them would make a mistake. Then the second layer is for applicants who are coming to ensure that when the paper is printed and given to them, they take their time and go through it before they confirm for a card to be printed. Now, for applicants who cannot read and write, our public education has always been, please go to the center with someone so that that person would help you. So for our mothers, our fathers who are not literate, they cannot read and write, once they are going to the registration center, so please let a young man or woman in the house follow such individuals. And it has worked for most of our elderly population, because even apart from those who can read and write, when the person is aged, when the person has some physical, disabilities, it is not appropriate to allow those people go to the registration centers on their own. They should always go with a relative who will be able to see them through. And a lot of people did that, and at the end of the day, went through the registration process successfully. Their cards were printed, and it did not have any problem. So that's what I am talking about here. So that's why I said it is more like sharing responsibility. So it's quite unfortunate, but that is what it says. So going forward, people who are yet to register can avoid some of these mistakes.
You said you intend to do 14 to 0 soon. How soon do you intend to do that? And would that mean an end to the 15 and above registration?
No, not at all. I mean, we are in a continuous registration phase. As I indicated, somebody who was even 14 years yesterday will probably have 10, 15 years today. So then the person qualifies for what we call the smart dual interface chip embedded identity card. So that's what it is. So NIA has come to stay per the law. All our officers established will remain the way they are. Perhaps until the state at some point decides that we don't need National Identification Authority anymore. But from where we are, identity management services will remain. We will keep adding to the population, and those people will have to be added to the National Identification Register. So that will continue. For those who are below 15 years, when we are done with our operational schedule on how we intend to register those people, we will surely pull that out. And I believe that before the end of the year, that process should begin.
This is the National Identity Register, that database. Is it ready? Or is work in progress?
Yes, it's ready. It's ready. I mean, you see, the best practice anywhere in the world is that when you have captured about 80% of, let's say, the adult population, for instance, you can say you have a database and that database is functional. So it shouldn't then surprise you that as we speak, SNIT is currently relying on the database. In fact, your former SNIT number has now been replaced with your personal identification number on the Ghana card. I mean, GRA now replaces the TIN number with the Ghana card number. NHIS is going to do same. DVLA is relying on the database as well. So that database is in place. So once we've captured more than 80% of that adult population, it is this adult population that would need the continuous use of the database. And for that matter, the identity card. So the opening of a bank account, for instance. Now your banks tell you that without a Ghana card, you can do business with them. You know, SIM card registration deadlines have come. Now there's a new deadline. So all of that tells you that the database is in place and it is functional. It is already serving the purpose for which the National Identification Authority was established and for which we had to go around Ghana to register Ghanaians and then now introduce what we call a continuous registration phase that gives opportunity for Ghanaians who have not yet registered for the Ghana card to do so. So yes, so it is in place, it's working, and then we are fine, really, as a nation. So as far as now relying on that database is concerned.
And you talk about linking it to that of other agency. Is that being done, is been done, or is a process?
Yeah, so there are two issues here. One is data harmonization, and the other is for other agencies to simply rely on the database to be able to verify Ghana card holders before they offer them service. So in terms of data harmonization, what it means is that before the Ghana card came into existence, even though the National Identification Authority had existed, but the fact that we had registered just few people and issued few people identity cards meant that you couldn't even enact that particular law, because in the absence of a Ghana card, how then do we identify people? So yes, other state institutions had to rely on the SNIT biometric card, the NHIS card, the voter identity card, passport, so on and so forth. But now that the Ghana card has come into existence, SNIT has stopped issuing the SNIT biometric card. NHIS should stop when the integration is fully done. DVLA should stop issuing identity cards, so on and so forth. And all of them will now rely on the Ghana card. So we have successfully integrated with SNIT already. So for any and every SNIT subscriber, your data is with SNIT. So with your Ghana card and the Ghana card number now being your SNIT number, it means that you can access service, social security, pension, so on and so forth, using the Ghana card from SNIT. NHIS has done same. We are doing same with the DVLA and those other state institutions that we have to integrate with. Now, for other state institutions that offer various services, they should be able to verify Ghana card holders. When the Ghana card holder turns up at the point of service, they should be able to verify the card or verify the individual before they offer. First of all, has to do with the mandatory uses of the Ghana card, the 40 mandatory uses. But beyond the 40 mandatory users, any other institution that would seek to establish the identity of the individual before service is offered, they now have the Ghana cards to be able to do so. So that's where we are, and you know that it is working. I mean, every Ghanaian at this point knows that it is working, because at least your bank will tell you that bring a Ghana card so that you'll be able to link your record to their system, and then anytime you come with a Ghana card, they are able to verify you before they provide service. We know that SIM registration is ongoing. SNIT subscribers, for instance, know that their Ghana card numbers have now become their SNIT number. Those who go to GRA to file taxes and whatnot, they are told that they have to present their Ghana card, and the number on the Ghana card now becomes their tax identification number. So that's where we are, and we are very confident that the very objective for setting up the NIA at this point is working, and no Ghanaian really can survive in this country without registering and without obtaining a Ghana card, because anywhere you go, you'll surely demand for your Ghana card.
I want to be careful not to assume that you are the one who NIA is taking these decisions. But as we speak now, you talk about the SIM registration exercise. We are talking about the Electoral Commission submitting a CI to Parliament, asking that the Ghana card should be the only ID card that we'll rely on. I am wondering what, if you are able to tell the conversations that go on between yourself and these institutions before these decisions are taken. Have you given them guarantees that all the people who may be eligible for this kind of exercises have Ghana card? I'm wondering what the conversation is.
Well, I think we should let the mandate of the EC be their mandate. Theirs is to compile a voters register and conduct public elections and referenda in this country. Our law is also clear in terms of providing the 14 mandatory uses of the Ghana card. One of them has to do with voter registration. I mean, if you go to the LI 211 of the National Identification Register 2012, it provides that. So now EC would have to prepare themselves in order that they'll be able to carry out their operations that reflects this particular law or this particular provision. And one of them is going to Parliament with a CI, so that once that CI is passed, they will be able to conduct their activities in a way that complies with the law in terms of relying on the Ghana card to compile a voters register. So just like we have dealt with any or all other state institutions that indicate their preparedness to rely on the Ghana card, whatever modalities we have to go through with them, we will. So yes, they have approached us a couple of times. We've had some conversations, and we've given them our figures, our database, and from where we sit up to the next election, I think everyone is confident that for anyone at all who is interested in voting in this country, the person has the opportunity to acquire the Ghana card and then get enrolled on the voters register on a continuous basis, because what we have heard is that they are also going to adopt a process similar to what NIA is currently doing. But what you need is your Ghana card to walk into any of their offices and they enroll you. It is that simple. So I think that the confidence that Ghanaians need to have in the NIA, in the EC, in going about this particular process is critical. These are two state institutions, and we can assure all Ghanaians that there is nothing fishy or nothing to worry about. The database is there. The laws are clear on how we deal with, how we manage that particular database. So anyone who does anything that is not in line with the law, obviously you have questions to answer. So that is where we are. We've shown the figures. I mean, last week Saturday on a program on a radio station, the EC had access to our figures. They put that out. We had done over 17 million, just as I have mentioned to you. And if we go by the population and housing census, Ghanaians 15 years and above, around 19 point something million. So we just have a little over 2 million people that we have to enroll on the National Identification Register, so that those people would also be able to enroll on the voters register. So if elections are about 2 years away from us, I know that there will be assembly elections here and there, but even with that one, we are very confident that anybody at all who is minded shouldn't have a problem. One, obtaining the Ghana card, and two, getting enrolled on the voters register.
Because as we speak, you're talking about you registering 17 million people. You have printed 60 million cards. You have issued 50 million cards. Is that adequate enough? Because your figures, there are issues with there are deficits of cards that you haven't given out to people who may be potentially involved in this exercise. This registration, we do not know when it will start. How do you assure us that between 17 to 15, they can be able to issue close to 2 million cards within this time period to ensure that anybody who may be interested in registering does register?
Yeah, so from January this year, for instance, we were somewhere around 14 billion, and the year hasn't ended. We are recording over 17 million. So what that means is that even by December, it's very much possible that we should do over 19 million. So that's the point we need to know. And when it comes to printing and issuance of cards, the most important thing is to get a card printed. Once the card has been printed, we can say that at NIA, 90% of our work is done. The rest of that 10% is for the individual to go to the office so that the card will be issued to him or her. And indeed, most of the cards that have not been issued are currently at our regional and district offices. They are safe, but it continues to be a problem for NIA because these cards are occupying space. We have to keep managing them just to ensure that they don't lose their functionality and all of that. So for any Ghanaian who has registered and you know where you registered, you simply have to go back there so that NIA would issue a card to you. So that's what it is. So as for registering you and getting your card printed, that is NIA's responsibility, and we've always done that. And of course, knowing that Ghanaians take their elections very, very seriously, I am sure that when the registration begins, people surely are going to go to the regional and district offices to pick these cards. And indeed, they were in excess of 1 million, but that number has been coming down. It's been coming down largely due to some of these other institutions that have provided deadlines for the use of the Ghana card. So Senate, GRA, and then now the National Communication Authority with the SIM card re-registration. So people are going for these cards as and when they need them, actually. So there shouldn't be any problem whatsoever. So as far as registering the rest of that population within that bracket is concerned. But you should also recall the earlier argument I made that a Ghanaian who was 14 years yesterday surely could be 15 today. So you will surely continue to have people within that bracket going through a continuous registration process. But that is why the critical point must be made all the time that NIA registration doesn't have a deadline. So at any point in time, you'll be able to go and register and obtain your Ghana card. So in that regard, there's really no problems as far as the opportunity to register will continue to exist for all Ghanaians.
I wanted to so I have to let you go because I have other business and I'm sure Kofi Fineboy says, Sena, I want to read a few of the messages that have been sent to me currently for you to respond to. Kofi Fineboy says, Sena, can you ask him why they cannot print instant cards rather than people wasting days for just a card? All these faults will be avoided if they print instant cards. That was the initial promise. What happened?
Well, cards are still being printed instantly. I can say that about 70 to 80% of registrations come with instant printing of cards. That's what it says. You will have some exceptions where cards are not printed instantly. It could be the quality of the data that the applicant has brought. It could be the nature of the internet connectivity at that particular place that registration is taking place. So these are reasons that could account for not printing a card instantly. But I can assure you that if you go to our regional and district offices, more than 70% of data they capture, they are able to print those cards instantly.
There's also one from AK Kwashe who says, can you please ask him if the NIA has any plans of changing the cards for the young ones? Example, a 10-year-old having a card today, that person will surely change drastically in 20 years. How does that work?
Yes, those are still conversations that we are having. We were contemplating on issuing children, those below the age of 15, a different identity card from the one that you and I hold. So their cards would have been 2D barcode cards. We haven't taken the decision firmly on that yet, whether they should be issued with those IDs or they should also be issued with a smart identity card. So as I said, when we are done with all the technical and operational issues, we will surely put that out so that Ghanaians within that particular bracket will know what sort of card NIA will issue into them.
Some more questions. This is Mamia Ba. Says, Sena, good morning. Please ask him why can't they give notification when the card is ready? Because people are complaining that whenever they go to the office, they say it's not ready. And people have been going to offices for months and they keep telling them your card is not ready. So she's asking, why can't you give notification? Why can't notification be given?
Well, that used to happen perhaps when we hadn't registered such large numbers, but we have tried to find a way of reaching out to people. One of those ways is through our contact center, where once we have notice of people's cards that have been pending for printing, now gone through the full cycle of getting the card printed and now left with issuance, we're able to reach out to those people through the contact center. But again, when you have such huge numbers, the question to ask is how many people can they reach out in a day? So our tech and bio department is designing a system, and very soon we should be able to create a situation where people can go on a system and be able to find whether the card is printed, where the card is located, and for that matter, where they should go for those cards to be issued to them. So that is going to come up in the next couple of days into a week.
There's also this one which says, please ask him, if possible, ask him which measures they are taking to stop the extortion, since the services have fully been paid for by the tax, with the taxpayers' money. There are suggestions that perhaps when you created that one at LWAC, now you are taking it to the regional offices where people have to update their records. Among others, it makes room for people to demand monies from them, perhaps to help you get access to the facilities faster. Have you had complaints of extortion, and how are you dealing with it?
Yes, we keep having complaints, but it's not just enough to complain and sit where you are, because that doesn't solve the problem. But when people have complained and they are bold to provide better particulars of individuals who have taken money from them, which offers, we've carried out investigations, and where the investigations establish that indeed some extortion has taken place, we've taken drastic action against those people. So as we speak, NIA has a DEX for the CID. It's a whole secretariat that we accommodate at our headquarters, so that when matters like this come, they are able to treat it with dispatch. I can assure you that on a daily basis, they are dealing with issues, not just about extortion, but also about some other individuals who are trying to enroll on the National Identification Register. Meanwhile, they are not qualified to do so. So if you go online, for instance, I've issued numerous press releases about individuals who were arrested, individuals who were investigated, and even prosecutions that we have undertaken. So it all boils down to this whole issue about ensuring the accuracy, the credibility, and the reliability of the database. So in that respect, we take these matters very seriously. So when people are complaining about extortion, please, they should be bold enough to come forward with the evidence so that we can take action on some of these matters. Now, in terms of ensuring that extortion does not continue, the system for paying, for instance, for these services that I mentioned, whether it's about updating, replacing new registration at a premium center, so on and so forth, it's an electronic payment system, right? And through that electronic payment system, that means that you don't come into contact with any individual who would ask you for money. So once that is done, you are then given a code to be able to queue and then for the service to be delivered. So when you go and any other person asks you for money, to the extent that the person is not going to issue you with any receipt, for instance, that should just tell you right away that this person is trying to take money from you. Don't pay that money, because you've paid for the service already, and the person must deliver or offer the service. That is what it says. So if we have to fight extortion or overcome it, it will largely depend on the cooperation of individuals who go to seek these services. So that anyone who asks for something, you are able to report that to NIA. Then NIA takes action on it. So that's what it says.
Some more. This one says, please ask him, how about those of us not in the country? What is the plan for us, those who live abroad?
Yes, I mean, we are advanced in that conversation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and all the modalities have been worked on at the moment. We are left with a few more steps. One of them is to train our officials across the embassies across the world, so that they would act as officials of NIA to be able to conduct registration in their respective countries. I have received a long list of those individuals across the world. We are planning on how to train them so that they'll be able to conduct registration. So in the next couple of weeks, we should be done with that training process. And I believe that before end of year, we will start registering our compatriots abroad.
By end of year?
Before end of year.
Before end of year?
Yes.
You are confident of that?
Exactly.
Okay. Ben says, Sena, okay, so this one is specific, that the Shaiman office is not sharing cards. In fact, he says his wife has been there and back several times to the point that she's fed up. Are some of your offices currently not doing anything at all, not able to issue cards out?
Sometimes there's that challenge. I mean, maybe at the time they recorded card shortage and then placing a request for cards to be delivered to them, that within that particular time lag, then you would have people who have registered waiting longer before cards are issued to them. So that is an issue of optimization. Maybe the people going to their shaman office are so many and they could run out of cards, but it may take some time because cards have to be worked on. It's not just the blank card, but you need to work on it in such a way that it can take data when that data has to be, when the card has to be printed. So I don't know when the last time the person went there, but I know that last week, for instance, quite a lot of cards were taken to the fold, and obviously their shaman office would have received theirs as well.
Because I'm wondering, you talk about the population. In areas where the population is very big, how do you treat those areas? Because I'm assuming you are then having to double up resources to those areas, or they get the same resources as anywhere.
Of course, they will get more resources. So at the end of the day, the number of people we anticipate at a particular district office will inform the number of cards taken there. But the reporting has to also be effective, So the officials there, what are they doing in terms of their reporting, their monitoring, to ensure that at the appropriate time, they are able to alert the officials at the headquarters that they need some cards. So when that takes a longer process, then it can affect the manner in which cards are printed and also issued to the individuals. So if you have 292 officers across Ghana, sometimes these isolated cases can come up. But as I said, last week, quite a lot of cards were taken to the fold, and obviously a shaman would have had its share. So I don't know the last time this individual went there, but if the person went there last week or probably this week, I'm sure the card would have been printed and issued.
Because there has been consistent complaints of some particular areas not getting materials. There's always shortage of materials in some particular areas, to the point that people have suggested it is intentional. Has that also come to your attention?
Yeah, of course. It keeps coming out. I mean, once people have registered and it's taking days and weeks and they haven't gotten their cards, you would expect these complaints. That's a fact. But it's not intentional at all to deny certain towns or districts cards and then some other places have cards. So there's nothing like that. It's an operational matter that we'll be working to address. And as I said, I am confident that as of last week, for instance, I think about 100,000 cards taken to the fold. So for most of these district officers that had certain backlog printing to do, they were able to clear much of that last week. And this week, printing of those cards would continue. So I urge the individuals to go back to the district officers, and then when they have picked their cards, then they should be able to come back and tell you that they went and indeed those cards were issued to them. So that it doesn't continue to stay in your mind that this problem exists. I hope you get me.
Because I'm just reading a message. This one, the frustration in the system gives room for extortion. My wife, for instance, tried several times to collect her card, but has not been successful. Her work does not provide her the opportunity to go there every now and then. So she's compelled to go through somebody who knows somebody, and then she has to pay 150 cedis to get the card. In this case, how can she report the person who helped her? They should rather work on the system to make it run smoothly. So he's saying that you need to improve your system, that you're not helping those who are busy and may not, it's difficult for them to find time to go through, spend a whole day sitting in an office waiting for one thing to be done.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not necessarily working on the system. I think some of these issues, we need to look at it in the broader context of who we are. These officials are not brought from any part of the world. They are our very own citizens who apply for a job. They are given the job, trained to go and serve Mother Ghana, And no matter how effective your monitoring system is, these things are surely going to slip because we have about 1,500 staff working for the NIA across the country. So even if you want to monitor, you cannot be in every district, every region at the same time. So it's an attitudinal problem, But even as I say so, I still have to commend the NIA staff. Many of them are really doing their work well. But in a few instances when these matters are reported, it may create the impression that that is what everyone does. But I can assure you that it's not everyone who do this. They are well trained. They've done this work over the years, and we have successfully built this kind of database. But when those few instances are reported, the victims, those individuals, must be prepared to also come forward so that when you have punished 1, 2, 3 people and it's public for everyone to see, it could easily serve as a deterrent to any other person who has the intention to do so. So you've just mentioned a classic case of somebody paying money and got the card. Meanwhile, that person would have been told that there are no cards for us to even print for you. Meanwhile, the cards are there. Now, yes, you have paid, all right. But if you had reported it, maybe 10 other people will not suffer the same fate. And in that respect, you'll be solving the problem. So that's the appeal that I want to make to Ghanaians, that when you encounter these instances, please, let's try and nip it in the bud by simply reporting to the appropriate authorities so that action will be taken.
I have to land, but so Kofi Fineboy, because I wanted to draw this to your attention. He just said, Kofi Fineboy said, Sena, he just said your card number becomes your tax identification number, which is wrong. Registrar General is not accepting that number. You'll be forced to generate a new number. I am a victim of this. There's this one which also says, good morning. Some of the cards don't work. Sami sent that from Newtown. There are people who say some of the things you are saying are not working on the grounds. There are others who say, I take my card to the bank takes my PIN, inputs it into their system and tell you, I can't find it in the system. What happens in those instances?
Yeah, so those are technical issues, and it affects individuals. But the broader situation is that is what works for many of us. So the fact that you have had a technical problem that has to be dealt with does not mean that is not the case. I mean, this is a policy decision that has been made, and as we speak, NIA has to even create officers at the various locations of GRA, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Registrar General Department. So that when you go and you don't have a Ghana card, they will ask you to register for a Ghana card right there and then before the service is delivered to you. So from January this year, your Ghana card number has become your tax identification number. That is what it says. I mean, if you don't have a Ghana card, maybe they will still continue to render service using your TIN until you get a Ghana card. Because it's possible that you have even registered, but unfortunately, your card hasn't been printed. So those are operational realities that you take into consideration where you have some difficulties. But in terms of the policy, that is what I have stated, and that is what it says. Now, if you go to a bank and they say they can't find something in the system, it means that there's something wrong with your Ghana card. And you have to be able to go to NIA, get that rectified, and then you go back to the bank. It is as simple as that. So there are some people holding certain cards, and they are told every now and then that there's no data on the card. It could be true. It may also be that the system that they are using to read that Ghana card is faulty. And when these matters have come to our attention, we've also drawn the service provider's attention to it. And back and forth, we are able to resolve these challenges. So that's what I can say on that.
It seems you made a comment that caught Abdurrahman's attention. One of the people listening to me says, ask him, does it work in the EC? How does he come to the conclusion that there's nothing fishy?
Well, it is because those are concerns that people have raised. NIA in the past was accused of being in cahoots with the EC to rig an election in favor of A or B, that kind of thing. I mean, the 2020 elections, for instance, let's remember that this is not the first time the EC is going to rely on the Ghana card. In the 2020 elections, it had to be the Ghana card and a passport. And indeed, for 70 to 80% of Ghanaians who were enrolled on that voters register, it was the Ghana card that they presented. So we've gone through this before. We are simply now at a stage where they are saying now it's going to be only and only the Ghana card. So there will be no the passports, and of course they already jettisoned the idea of the guarantor system. Yes, the guarantor system still worked in 2020, but now they are taking that off and also taking the passport off. We at NIA can only assure them based on what we have, and that is the fact. And that's the assurance that we give to any other state institution that eventually approaches us to indicate that they are now ready and prepared to rely on the Ghana card. So we are not doing anything different at all. We've done that with Senate already. We've done that with GRE already. We've done that with NHIS already. These are all state institutions. We are currently doing that with the Controller and Accountant General Department. We are doing that with the Lands Commission. We've done that with the banks. We've done that with the telecos. So the EC is another state institution that has indicated their readiness to rely on the Ghana card. What do we have to do as a state institution? Ours is to present the facts as they are and to assure them of our readiness to support the process. It's just as simple as that. So when I talk about nothing is
But is that also not false, judging from the fact that you've been doing this registration for some time? Your target is 19.9. In fact, I think you started your registration before the EC did the 2020 voter registration. They did 17 million. You are now at 17 million, way after 2 years after 2020. And then you are giving them hope that you can help them register new people that they have not captured on their register. When they register people 18 years and above, still got 17 million. You registered people 15 years and above. You've been registering people 15 years and above for a long time. You just got to 70 million. Are you not giving them false hope?
So let me clear this. There's a complete difference between the registration the EC does, the kind of data they capture, even the capacity of the data in terms of kilobytes, right? And at the end of the day, the ID cards that they issue to you, they are simply conducting a registration only for the purpose of conducting elections. It is as simple as that. So the kind of information that they'll pick from you will be very limited. And you know that. If you have registered for a voter ID card, and you've also registered for a Ghana card, for anybody out there who has both identity cards, the person can simply confirm what I am saying. When you go to the NIA, just take a look at the registration form, both the front and the back. So much information is required of you, which you have to provide. That is a fact. And all of that data that you provide, because it's about identity, it has to be unique. So even where there are data inconsistencies, the system is going to flag that. And you may not have your card printed until those cases are adjudicated upon. That is what all of us must have in mind. And at the end of the day, you look at the 3 levels of biometrics that have to be taken. The EC may just take some few fingerprints, or let's say even all the fingerprints. But beyond the fingerprints with NIA, we take your iris. We also take your facial recognition. These are 3 levels of biometrics that it is only the NIA that is mandated by law to take these biometrics. We do that. So NIA collects data that serves a multi-purpose. It is the reason why Senate will abandon their Senate biometric card and rely on the Ghana card. It is the reason why NHIS will abandon their identity cards and rely on the Ghana card. It is the reason why DVLA will do the same. It is the reason why the banks will rely on the Ghana card even to establish the KYC, the Know Your Customer, because that is more reliable. And here we are. It is the reason why the EC will rely on the Ghana card as well, because there's a component on the Ghana card data that satisfies the purpose of the EC. So the Ghana card is multifunctional, multi-purpose, and you can't compare that to any kind of identity card that is issued.
And that's exactly my point. That they are looking for data that they themselves could gather without your Ghana card within a short period of time. You are doing a careful exercise where you're gathering more data than they are doing. You have a target of 19.9 million. Within that 19.9 million, there are people within that bracket that you haven't captured, that they captured in 2020. So why would you give them the assurance that people who perhaps you have not captured, you haven't reached your target in 19.9, you are assuring them that they can rely on your card when they may not? There are people that they are targeting, they will not get.
Exactly. The point you made earlier was how long it took for us to do this and how long it took the EC to do that. And I'll just assuring you that once we have collected that comprehensive data, all other state institutions can rely on that going forward. So the EC will not have to ask people to come queue again for voter registration. And you know the chaos that sometimes creates, apart from the huge budgetary burden. So if NIA now has that comprehensive source of data, why would we ask EC to go and compile a different voters register without relying on the Ghana card? That surely would be at a huge cost to the state. But now that cost is saved. So it is because NIA registration has just begun. And when I say has just begun, yes, from 2018 up to this point, it's going to take us some time to build that comprehensive database, and every other institution then will continue to rely on it going forward. But even where we are, if it is 17 million against 19 million, the difference is just a little over 2 million. Elections are some years away from us. And we are seeing the EC cannot rely on that. Even in 2020, when we're doing just around 11 million thereabout, they relied on the Ghana card, the passport, and the guarantor system. Eventually, 70 to 80% of Ghanaians in that election presented their Ghana card to be enrolled on the voters register. Today, we know that eventually every Ghanaian who is going to vote in the next election should be able to do so by presenting the Ghana card to the EC so that EC can compile a register on a continuous basis. I mean, this is how civilized societies really are governed, and they develop so that you spare people that hassle of queuing all the time to register for an election. You spare the national purse of huge sums of money getting out of it only in the name of voter registration. So that's where we are headed, and we expect everyone to lend their support. And for me, the conversations I have had, really everyone seems to agree that this is where to go. And if there are still operational issues that we need to deal with, there is so much time for us to overcome them and make this whole system, if you want, sacrosanct to some extent.
Okay. Abdul, I have to leave it here. Thank you for making time to speak to me this morning. I hope we have more conversations on this as we go forward, so that I wouldn't have to hold you for close to 1 hour, 30 minutes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to me this morning.
Bye.
Abdul Ganiu Abudu is Head of Corporate Affairs at the National Identification Authority. I think we have more conversation going forward because a lot